10 things I changed to simplify my mid-50s life. We are constantly evolving and moving and transforming. We never stand still because life never stands still. We're in a different place now, today, perhaps to the place we were in 2 years ago, 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago. Life evolves and changes all the time, so therefore it's always worth keeping an eye on the habits you adopt, the beliefs that you have, the way you move your body, the way that you nourish yourself, the relationships you nourish yourself with, whether your emotional state and whether the people that you hang out with and that you choose to associate with, the people that are around you, are they still serving you as well as they could do? I don't mean serving you like servants. I mean, do they still provide you with the same level of positivity that they perhaps did when you started out in that relationship? Are the habits that you keep, are the things that you do you really, really enjoy them as much as you did initially, or perhaps is it time to look to see what needs to be altered, to see where you might need to tweak things, to improve things, whether that's in your work or in your social life or in your relationships with your children or other family members. We're constantly evolving as human beings, and it's important to keep an eye on where you're at to make sure that you're maximizing the potential of every and any given situation. And this video is about the changes that I've made over the last couple of years to make things easier on myself as I go into the second half of my 50s. Because that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about life serving you the way that is best for you, the way that, so that it makes you feel as good as it can make you feel all the time. Because there's this dawning realization. It was a quote, I read a quote attributed to Confucius, and the quote said that we have two lives, and the second one begins at the point when we realize we only have one. Just think about it. It's not a dress rehearsal, this is it. So if there are things in your life that you either, you absolutely hate, obviously there might be some of those, or things that you do because you've just always done them, like a job that you do because, you do it because, well, what else are you going to do? That's all you know. You can learn and pick up new skills at any stage. Don't let anybody ever tell you any different. We can all change at any point, whatever we're talking about, whether that's the food we're eating, the people we associate with, the job we're doing. Anytime you can change direction. So this is just me talking about the 10 things that I've changed, and hopefully from this you can then draw some inspiration to have a look at your own life and just have a stock check. Think about how often a business has to have a look at everything that it does and every amount of money that it spends and every person it employs. It's a constantly evolving situation, otherwise it doesn't succeed. And think of yourself as a business like that. You are also constantly evolving and changing, and you need to be checking and doing, do a fact check and see whether everything that you do is actually serving you as well as it can do. 2 years ago, almost, I read a book called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, American guy, and he suggested in there that getting up earlier in the morning was a good way to start the day, because you would then have this extra time to do things that perhaps you didn't have time for ordinarily. So I decided that was a brilliant idea, and I'd wanted for a long time to restart practicing yoga, and I'd been to a couple of classes, and oh gosh, that was not ideal, because first of all it was hard to get into the classes. Even though they were at my gym and they were free, it was just you know, oh, I don't think I can go onto this road here. I think we're going to have to reverse. So I decided, well, I would do yoga, but I would do it at home on my own, and I'd just get up early and do it, because I like doing things early. It's like first time thing you do in the day. It gets it out of the way. It's done for the whole day. So it was not quite 2 years ago. It was April. So in April it will be 2 years I've been practicing yoga, and at the same time I decided to start journaling, because that was another suggestion of Hal's, and it was a good thing to do. So I said to Simon, my darling husband, that I was going to do this, and he said, well, don't expect me to get up at 5:30 and do yoga with you. I'm just, you know, I'm not, it's too early. I'm not getting up that early. I said, no, that's fine. Within, I think it was 2 or 3 days I'd been practicing. I started practicing with a YouTuber whose name has escaped me. I don't practice with her anymore. I can't remember the name. Adrienne. She's got a huge following. She's a very big yoga influencer on YouTube, and she's great. And I started with her, and I think it was within 2 days, Simon joined me. So the two of us then started doing yoga, and we do our yoga 20 or 30 minutes every morning. More usually it's 20. We tend to do a bit longer at the weekends, but it's something we've stuck with. We started it, like I said, nearly 2 years ago. And I can look back into my journals, because I started journaling at the same time. And I started just writing in a notebook and writing a page a day. And I was still trying at that point to figure out my terribly painful gut. I hadn't got to the bottom of that. So mostly my journal was about what I was eating, what wasn't working, what was still hurting, and you know, it would make for extremely dull reading, I'm sure. If you were to read it, it's not a blockbuster or anything. It won't be one of those journals that when I'm gone, that people will read back through and say, wow, imagine this. It was just, today I weighed and I felt like this and I got this much sleep. But anyway, the journaling thing, it's a really good exercise, because sometime later, and I progressed from that first writing a whole page to my eldest daughter Abby gave me, I think it was Christmas 23, because I'm well over a year into this now. She gave me a 5-minute journal from a company called Intelligent Change, because she's a prep school teacher in a school in South Kensington in London, and one of the parents is the creator and the CEO of this company, Intelligent Change, and she had given, introduced Abby to these diaries, these journals. She's called Mimi Icon. She's on Instagram. You can follow her. She's quite inspirational. She wears lovely clothes and has a very nice, successful company producing these beautiful journals, which are lovely to write in. And I started doing the 5-minute journal, and it's a gratitude journal. And each day there's a little saying at the top of the page, and then something uplifting, something thought-provoking, and then you write down your things that 3 things you're grateful for, and then you write down. God, I haven't got it in front of me, and I've been doing this now for a year and a half, writing these journals, and I can't remember all the things. So you write down things that you want to do in the day, and then you write down at the end of the day, you revisit and you write down your 3 highlights of the day and what you learned in that day. And that's been a really brilliant exercise. It's really nice is my English teacher told me when I was 10, don't use the word nice. It's a really weak description word. There are so many better words. So let's go for it's a really pleasant way to start the day. The yoga is energizing. The things that have improved with yoga, going back to number 1, I'm more flexible. When I started practicing yoga, I couldn't actually sit cross-legged on the floor and sit straight, because my back was quite tight, because I'd spent too long working at desks, bending over, probably looking at my phone too much, as we all do. Our heads are quite heavy, and when you spend a lot of the day doing that, you get very jowly and you get very sore. People get terrible neck pain these days. I wonder why. Anyway, so I studied the yoga, brilliant. Progressed from using Adrienne to following Charlie Follows is her actual name. She's also on YouTube. And I started with Charlie in summer 23 when she was at just over 100,000 followers, and now she's up to almost 1 million followers. And people really love her because she's really genuine. She practices her yoga with lovely backdrops. She goes to places like, I think she goes down to places like Marbella, or she's in Spain, or she's in Portugal. She doesn't actually always say where she is, but lovely places. So that's, you know, she'll be in the woods, or she'll be by a stream, or she'll be by a lake. And then after I've done my yoga, I can now sit up perfectly straight, and I'm way more flexible, and I'm much stronger. Yoga's amazing because it feels, you start gentle, you get stronger, and you do the more difficult sessions as you get better at it. You get more flexible, the muscles get bigger, you burn fat. It's just a win-win, and it's very zen. It makes your mind, it's peaceful and calm. Very different from going and doing step classes like I used to do in the 90s, or an insanity class, or going for a run. It's very, very different energy to that. More like Pilates. So that and the journaling, two major things that I implemented in my mid-50s to improve my life and to simplify my life. I'm about simplification and getting rid of things I don't need anymore. So number 3 was I stopped planning ahead so far and looking ahead. And we came to Andorra, and we decided for once in our lives, because we've done it several times where we've bought in a hurry, and we decided for once in our lives not to go ahead and buy straight away. A bit dark going through a tunnel just there. And instead of that, we just rented an apartment, which I kind of thought was a bit of a stopgap, and we would find a better apartment, you know, in due course, because it's quite difficult to find a good rental in Andorra at a good price. It's quite expensive. But actually it's such a nice apartment. We have lovely neighbours. We really like where we live. It's a great location, and the mountain is just on our doorstep. We can walk out the door. I can walk out the door and be up into the wilderness and see nobody within about 10 minutes. So I love that, especially now that I do have a dog. So that was my number 3 thing, was not always looking ahead and planning ahead, or not thinking when we get a bigger apartment, or but just to enjoy where we are, enjoy where I'm at, and not worry too much about the future. Just enjoy now, which I'm really, really doing. I think that's really important, to enjoy where you're at. There's a lot of police activity going on today. I'm just crossing the border now from Spain back into Andorra. And I won't film it because they'll probably pull me over, and they're carrying very big guns. But there's lots of police activity. Maybe they're looking for a criminal. They've moved their roadblock up from where it was when I came into Spain a couple of hours ago to where I'm going back out of Spain and back into Andorra now. Anyway, that's a bit of an aside. So number 4 in my list of things that I have done to simplify my life in my mid-50s. Oh, I'm being stopped now. Number 4. I prioritised my sleep. I've been working on this through my 50s, but it's just become more and more important to me, because sleep, like I've said in my video on sleep I did a couple of weeks ago, it is the foundation of everything. If you're not sleeping properly, nothing else about your health will be optimal either. We need to sleep enough. We need to sleep, and I guess it's in stark contrast to my earlier years, when I actually thought sleep was a waste of time. I thought, why waste all this time sleeping when I could be doing something? I wasn't ever a great sleeper. I'm a light sleeper ever since having had, not before I had the children, I could sleep like a dead person, but since I had the girls, and then Oscar later, you wake up like that, don't you? The slightest thing and you're awake, because you're so used to waking up for children. So sleep. Read Dr. Matt Walker's book, Why We Sleep, realised it was more important than perhaps I'd given it credit for, and started sleeping better, trying to sleep better after years of waking up at the crack of dawn, getting up, starting work, starting whatever. I was working for myself, so I'd be usually something I'd be doing for myself. and then going to bed too late, burning the candle at both ends, or burning the midnight oil, as we sometimes say. Number 5, walking. So I was always a massively big exerciser. I trained as an aerobics instructor when I was 25. So I just had Dulcie, who's our younger daughter, and then I wanted to become an aerobics instructor because by this time we were living in the Middle East. We were living in Qatar, which was a great experience. We spent 6 years there as a family. We went just with our first daughter, who we call P, and then we had Dulcie, and I loved exercise because it helped me control my weight. As I've said before, I did have an eating disorder. Always had a weird relationship with food and with my body. Right, I'm just arriving at River now, which is where I'm headed to buy some of my favourite herbal teas that they only seem to sell in this particular hypermarket. Yes, it's a roundabout, guys. We stop at the roundabout because I'm already on it. Well done. Every day I drive in Andorra, I feel like someone's going to broadside me at any point. It's just hairy, I tell you. So number 5, walking. Walking has become absolutely a thing that I do every single day, at least a couple of times, because I have a dog. So we got Mikey, who you've probably seen on other videos, our Jack Russell. We got him, well, he'll be 3 in July, so we got him 2.5 years ago. And of course, not having a garden means that you have to have a walk at least twice a day. So, and walking, I loved walking anyway, and I have had dogs in the past, so I've always walked, but I've always done other exercise too. So, but walking is such a brilliant exercise because it's so portable, particularly where I live. I'm always walking up or down hills. It's in the mountains, the air's amazing. The altitude is great for training. I can intersperse it with my sprinting, which I try to do at least 3 days a week, which is another protocol for getting rid of visceral fat. And I just love it. And when I walk in the afternoons, often with Simon, more police, a lot of police around today, as I've already said. Simon and I often walk in the afternoons, and it's just a time we catch up and we share our days, and it's a very, and of course Mikey is the happiest dog alive because he gets these great walks all the time. Best decision ever for your health to get a dog if you are going to commit to those twice a day walks, because it's like having a personal trainer. You have to get out there, you have to do it. It's low impact, you can do it for hours. It's not going to affect you, like if you decided to take up running in your 50s and perhaps you've not done it before, it might be too much for your joints. I stopped running when I was around 40 because everything hurt too much. Now I can sprint and I can, run. I've run short distances now and again, but I don't want to do long distance running. It's not it didn't ever interest me, or I didn't ever love it enough to want to do longer runs, but walking, fantastic. So that was my number 5. Incorporated walking into every day, and more than once. Number 6, no more horse. The big one, because I've been riding since I was 6, and decided this just before Christmas. I woke up one morning, you know when you sometimes get those dawning realizations just when you wake up. It's like you've kind of, your subconscious has been macerating over it in your sleep, and then you wake up and suddenly you know what to do. And I suddenly had the thought that I don't love riding enough anymore to want to keep paying out 500 or so euros a month for her keep, and also to do it. You know, the time it takes me a whole morning to go down and see Candy. And whilst I love her, I love her as a, you know, as a being, I'm just not into it anymore. My dad stopped riding when he was about 50. And I always thought he would start again, but he never did. I always thought that it was just like a hiatus and he would carry on, because he used to love it. He competed, he did long distance riding for many years. I mean, from my childhood, because my parents bought a pony for me, ostensibly, when I was 8, but it was one that was big enough for them to ride too. So it was quite a big pony. It was a very steep learning curve. I'd only had riding lessons on little ponies in a riding school, and then I got my own pony, and they just let me loose on it. I just used to ride around the countryside, being bolted with. That's what you say when a horse takes off with you and just you can't stop it. It's called bolting. This pony, he was fantastic. He was called Mr. Sunshine. I learnt so much from him. He was a bit of a, like, when he decided he didn't want to be somewhere, he just galloped home. And that would happen. You know, that happened quite regularly. And it made me get very good at staying on difficult horses. I had good stickability, because you don't want to fall off at a gallop. It's not pretty. Anyway, I decided before Christmas I was going to give up and find a new home for Candy, which I have done finally now. We're in March. And I'm hopeful that the guy who's going to buy her, who's somebody my friend Steffi's known for like 20 years, so I feel like I can trust him. He's going to use her for breeding, which is a really good solution for her. She'll love that. She'll live out on a mountain somewhere near Barcelona with some other horses, having a foal every year. Very nice life for her. And the home was the most important thing, more than the money I'm getting for her, which is not, let's just say it's not the money I would have got for her had I sold her in England, because she's a very quality horse. But hey, we're not going to worry about that. The main thing is she has a good home, and I have a solution that I no longer have to do something that slightly scares me, because I am all about, in my 50s, doing things that I want to do, doing things that work for me. I'm putting myself first. I'm putting myself higher up my to-do list. Oh gosh, there's more police. It's all going off, all kicking off today. Now, is this bus going to try and cut me up? No, we're all right. Oh, there's another policeman. I think there must be a criminal in Andorra today, because we don't have much crime in Andorra, but something's going on. Number 7. This is a more recent one. I decided to do longer fasts because I felt like I kind of stalled with where I wanted to be with my body. I wasn't seeing any more healing benefits. I wasn't seeing the last bit of weight loss I wanted for, not weight loss, just recompositioning. But I was thinking, I'm still got work to do on my thighs. I wanted my arms to get leaner and fitter and build more muscle, and it seems to be the longer fasts seem to absolutely be the key to that for me. So I've started fasting for longer. Here was a saying I picked up from my gratitude journal this morning. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. And that was a quote by Pablo Picasso. And I feel that this YouTube channel is my way of sharing the knowledge, sharing the things that I've learned through my many, many years of making lots and lots of mistakes, trying to find the path to true health, and I feel like I've eventually found it, and I want to share that. So that's why I trained as a health coach, that's why I decided to do what I'm doing, and why I decided to start this YouTube channel. Number 8, I decided to stop dyeing my hair. It's going through a transition. I'm very grey, but I still use a tint, or I don't do it, the hairdresser does it. I'm still having it tinted, but I'm gradually transitioning away from that. That's simplified things a lot for me in my life, because it's such a waste of time and I don't like all the chemicals they use. And now I don't have to worry about roots regrowing because I've gone much, much closer to my natural grey colour. I decluttered. I did a massive declutter in January. Decluttered my entire wardrobe, got rid of things which I didn't wear anymore, obviously, those are the first things to go, but things which I kept hold of because I felt guilty about them. There's no point in that. Why feel guilty about an item of clothing? You've already spent the money, the money's gone. You may as well, if you're never going to wear it and every time you open the cupboard it glares at you and makes you feel bad, there's no point in that. I decided to lose being guilty about things, and that was definitely one of them for me. So now, unless I wear stuff, I'm regularly going through all my clothes, and if I haven't worn something in a while, it goes out the door. My decluttering, which I did in January, I decluttered 496 things. I spent the whole month decluttering. 1 thing on the 1st, 2 things on the 2nd, 3 things on the 3rd, and so on and so forth. And I've carried on. I haven't got rid of such large numbers because obviously I'd already got rid of a lot, but it's an ongoing process. I just want all that clutter and stuff which clogs up my mind. I want it out of my life. So that has very much meant decluttering my wardrobe, because there was a lot of stuff in there which no longer served me. Let's just say, I'm going to go into this space here. And here we are at my favourite shop, Bio-Co-op. I became more selective about the time I devote to friendships and relationships. Here was another quote I really liked. Invent your world and surround yourself with people, colour and work that nourishes you. I thought that was lovely. Really lovely saying. There's a hidden cost to all that accumulating, and the sooner we're aware of it, the better. That's where the decluttering really became great. You know, just getting rid of that clutter, getting rid of the things that no longer served me. And I chose to drink less alcohol. That's just ongoing. It just goes along with healthy eating. I do still have a drink, but it's not very often now. Try not to do it in the evenings because it really wrecks my sleep. So because I've prioritised sleep, obviously I have to also prioritise not drinking alcohol. The last one I wanted to say was, concerning the things we pursue. This is from Seneca's Moral Letters, which my friend Julie in Scotland sends to me. Concerning the things we pursue and for which we vigorously exert ourselves, we owe this consideration: either there's nothing useful in them, or most aren't useful. And that was from Seneca's Moral Letters 42:6. He was a Roman sage and philosopher back in 4 BC, so 4 centuries before the birth of Christ. And that goes along with the not always planning so far into the future that you're not enjoying the now, thinking that you want or need things that then just end up cluttering up your life, like too many clothes, too many, lusting after having a bigger place to live when the place you live is perfectly adequate. Just not wanting and pursuing things that you don't really need, for which we vigorously exert ourselves. She sent this to me this morning, and I thought, gosh, that really ties in beautifully with simplifying my mid-50s life. 10 things I'd changed. You know, just be careful about what you pursue. Make sure you really need it. It really is going to serve you, because otherwise it's just more clutter, isn't it? And on that note, thanks for watching. Bye for now.